welcome to another episode of Catching Up with You. Woo, 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 woo. Our first guest is Erik Stolhanske, my main man from the Midwest, giving it out to you all over the place. He's 1/5 of the awesome sketch comedy group Broken Lizard, who are responsible for tickling everybody's funny bone with Super Troopers 2, Beer Fest, Club Dread, and dun, 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 dun. On April 20th, they have a brand new movie coming out, Quasi, only on Hulu. So you better get that. I'm just saying, you better be there to watch that. Get in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. But anyway, before we get into this very awesome interview, do me a favor. Go to Pound Town on those buttons. Like, subscribe, and if you want to be the first to get details on each new episode and more, make sure you tingle, tingle, tingle that notification bell. God. Oh, wow. And with that, let's catch up with Erik. Here we are. First of all, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi.
How are you?
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm good.
Of course. Come on now. Come on. Seriously.
Serious. I am serious.
It's so dead serious. I just I would say I've been a fan of you for some time, for a few years here. And it's amazing to me that you all have this ability to kind of migrate with the times. Like, I mean, from the first Super Troopers movie where you were literally on the road and doing that, like, to like banging the pavement with getting the film out there and telling people about it, to Kickstarter for Super Troopers 2, and just continuing to be like chameleons with the ever changing of the times. How has that kind of been for you throughout the career, having to consistently update, even though like you've put out like what, 6 movies now? Is it? I don't know.
I think Quasi coming out in 420 is going to be our 8th.
Oh my gosh.
8th that we've done is Broken Lizard, but then we've done some other ones, like Jay directed Dukes of Hazzard that we wrote on, and we've had our fingers in other pies. But 8 Broken Lizard films. It's crazy. Yeah. You gave me some bad flashbacks when you reminded me. We made a movie called Puddle Cruiser that went to Sundance in '97 before Super Troopers.
Yeah.
And we drove around in an RV around the East Coast to try to get the word out. Like, we showed at Sundance, but no one really sees Sundance movies unless you get acquired and put in theaters, which is pretty rare, and we did not. But we would drive around East Coast colleges. We try to call colleges and say, hey, would you screen our movie? And then we'd show up in this tiny little RV that we slept in and lived in and ate out of. We had no money. And we would hand out flyers to people on campus and be like, you like to laugh? Do you like to laugh? Which we used to also do for our live sketch shows. We'd walk around New York City and hand out flyers to try to get people to come and see us. It's a grind, man. It's a grind. But wow, if you have a passion for something, you want to knock it out. I mean, I know that you're a filmmaker and you've been in these shoes as well. You make no money, and then you go around and beg people to come and see a screening, and
pretty much,
and nothing happens with it, and then you keep going. So we had to do that with our first film, and finally we had to make Super Troopers again independently because no one bought our first movie. I mean, there's a whole backstory for 10 years before that, but then Super Troopers 2, again, so many years had passed, the studio wasn't sure if the audience was still there for a sequel, so we then had to do a Indiegogo campaign, which took years, had to raise the money ourselves. And now our new movie's coming out on streaming, so there's been a lot of changes over the years. Shooting on film, and then the DVD world that used to exist, and now a streaming world, and
it's amazing.
Technology changes a lot.
Yeah, it's wild to think about, because like for me, YouTube was still like the new thing coming up, and so like, seeing Issa Rae do her thing on YouTube and then come from there. But I don't know, I feel like I would have done really well to have to actually go out and be like, take this flyer, go watch my movie, go see it right now. Maybe I would just start intimidating people into coming into the theater.
Exactly. You just carry them. You just you wrap them
Yeah.
in saran wrap and you just make them come to the theater.
Like, come to the theater right now. Right now.
You'd have to hand out like 10,000 flyers to get 8 people to see a show.
To get 8 people, yeah. But it's like, on the flip side of that, on the interwebs, because it's so vast,
Yeah.
it's like you can do all this marketing and be out there, and 8 people will still only come to see your show. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't
There's
know.
so much content. There's so much content now.
There's so much content. It's wild.
Yeah. Every time
Like,
people are telling me about shows, I'm like, I've never even heard of that. Like, I bought a TV the other day. It has like 2,000 channels already on the TV, and it's not even connected to anything.
you're like, wait a minute, what is all this? What's happening? Yeah. No,
Incredible money.
like, I mean, gone are the days of 3 channels that worked until like 2 AM, and then you get the blank screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The UHF, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was on Apple TV last night. I watched the new episode of Ted Lasso,
Oh, nice.
and they show previews of other shows on there. And I had no idea these other shows were on there. I'm like, oh, that looks interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks funny too.
Yeah.
When did this come out? Like, I don't know.
They all look great too. Like the fun
Yeah.
and everything, and I'd watch them all, but I just don't have the time.
Yeah, I pick and choose, and then I also wait. I'm a binger. I have
Yeah.
to wait for the show to be done, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll go back and watch this whole thing because I have this much time to do this thing. So let me just get it on out of the way. And I kind of feel bad, but at the same time, it's like it's there on demand. What do you want me to do?
I think binging's awesome. I mean, it's so hard to go back to a show where like you have to tune in on like a Wednesday at 8 and then wait. I mean, when you get into a show that's awesome and you can just sit there and watch the next episode and the next episode,
Right?
it's amazing.
It's exciting, right? It's
Exciting.
just like, yes,
Yeah.
I love this.
Me
Like, I
too.
binge watched Yellow Jackets, and I was like,
Ooh, I want to see that.
show is
Love it.
it's insane. I absolutely love it. It's it's wild. It's absolutely wild.
I want to
Like,
watch it. I've been reading about it. It has a huge viewership.
you should absolutely watch it. And you can binge the first season now, so that's good.
Yeah, nice. I was reading Succession just had a huge view, like a really huge opening. The
Yeah.
largest audience it's had, I think, for an opening. But it's also comparing it to Yellow Jackets, which also has a huge audience, which is
Yeah.
I can check it out. So much to catch up on.
Yeah. But do you
Amber,
like-
how are you, man? I remember if I remember clearly, first time we met, we were doing a live national tour across the United States, doing shows, and we were warming up, I believe, at Cobb's Comedy Club in San Francisco, and we met at the show afterwards, and that was 2008. That was 15 years ago now.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that wild? I was still very much in the Marine Corps at that time. I drove from Sacramento to San Francisco to see the show. And then I did it again like the next year.
I remember that.
But
that was great.
Yeah, no, I've been good. Your new movie, Quasi, is coming out on Hulu.
I like that you call it Quasi.
Oh, is it Quasi?
Well, it's one of
I
the
mean,
characters.
technically, I could see like Quasi, yes, but
I love Quasi. I like Quasi. It's more interesting way to say it. It's Quasi. It's based on Quasimodo.
Yes.
So we call it Quasi, but the king, in a comedic way, calls him Quasi.
Yeah.
So I like that you call him Quasi.
So I watched the trailer a few times. Okay, sue me. Which is out now, and you should watch the trailer because it's really funny. Right. You all are playing double characters in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the first time you've all played multiple characters in one film.
Very curious to see how the audience reacts to it because it's very different than Super Troopers.
Yes, yes.
Very.
But like, I mean, if anybody's seen like Club Dread or something like that, like there are these nuggets of fun, like Slam and Salmon, that are very much not like Super Troopers, but just as hilarious in my opinion. So what was that like having to do? So you wrote it and then also double duty of playing two different characters that from the trailer, it looks like they're very different characters for each person.
They're very different. Now, and I want to get your opinion on something as well that I've experienced, over the course of our career. For us, it was a blast because we started as a sketch comedy group.
Yeah.
And it was more going back to our roots. Like when we all lived, the three of us, Kevin, Jay, and I lived in a loft down in Soho when we were doing live shows back in the right after college. And we used to have a big costume closet.
Oh, nice.
Gigantic costume closet. So whenever we'd have a party, we used to have these big parties because it was a warehouse. And people would just come raid our costume closet. And then people with a mermaid costume or all sorts of different things. They were just running all these parties, glasses and hats. And it was always so fun. And, but those are from our live shows.
Mm.
And so to go back and do this 8th century medieval period piece where you got to play a king and a pope and, terrible accents and, the costumes are ridiculous. It was a lot. It reminded us of going back to those days when we were doing live sketch shows in Manhattan. Nice. Which was so fun and playing different characters. I mean, when we were doing sketch, you'd have to do a sketch. You'd have to run backstage, which was just a little fire escape in Manhattan, which was a little burlesque little cabaret club in the Village, which was tiny. And you'd have 3 steps in the back that really was a fire escape. And when it rained, water would come down and you're back there trying to change costumes and you come out as another costume. So that's what it was like for us to go back and do it. And we wrote the script long time ago when we were doing sketch comedy. So we pulled it off the shelf and made it, which we were very surprised Searchlight wanted to make a goofy comedy like this, but it was fun. But I wanted to bring that back to you and ask you, a lot of people were introduced to us as a comedy group with Super Troopers.
Right.
And most people didn't know that we were a sketch comedy group or had a background like that. They just saw this comedy come out about the Vermont Highway Patrol who pull pranks on speeders to entertain themselves.
Right.
Because they're bored with this long stretch of highway with nothing to do. Good natured, but
good times.
Afterwards, we came out with, we wanted to play different characters. So then we created Club Dread, which was basically 10 little Indians on an island as if Jimmy Buffett, our character Coconut Pete, owned a resort. So most people are like, what? I don't get it. Like, I thought you guys were cops and you know what I mean? Like for them, it threw everybody off. They just wanted a Super Troopers 2 sequel. Right. And then we're like, well, we want to play different characters. Can we play all these different characters? And so I'm a little afraid people are going to see Quasi and be like, well, I don't know, like they're wearing costumes and 2 people. And it's like, they're still always expecting the Super Troopers kind of real world thing. I don't know. They just see Farva as Farva and,
I mean, that's difficult because you make these characters that have like these memorable one-liners and they're just so funny that I think for some people it's really hard to like get outside of that box of like, wait a minute, you actually act, you do other things. I don't understand what that means. That's weird. But I don't know. For me, it's I guess so I was also introduced through Super Troopers, the first Super Troopers. But I'm one of those people that's also like, what else is in the repertoire? What else do we have? So I've seen Puddle Cruiser, I've seen Club Dread, I've seen Beer Fest and all the other films that you have outside of Super Troopers. And I see you guys as like this group who loves to make films and bring out these interesting, funny characters. So when I saw Club Dread, I mean, I cackled. That's actually that's my favorite Broken Lizard film.
Oh, I love that.
Actually. And like, I mean, spoilers, but you get to play a killer on that. And like, I mean, it goes from this fun, no holds barred resort to absolute mayhem and chaos by the end of it. And I don't know, it was hilarious to me. Like, and it was one of those like to have the freedom to not only write the characters that you want to write, but then play the characters you want to play. It's like, that's freaking awesome to me. So I don't know. I hope that people can see this for what it is. And it's just another branch of the Broken Lizard, idea. And, like you said, you started out in sketch comedy. And I feel like even with Super Troopers, that's all a part of that, So I mean,
Like
you were
when,
in costumes.
like after Super Troopers, the studio tried to brand Club Dread as Broken Lizards Club Dread.
Yeah.
Like when you go to a marquee, it would say Broken Lizards Club Dread. And people are like, well, I don't understand what's Broken Lizard. It was very confusing to people. And I
Yeah.
still wonder if people can wrap their mind around that it's a comedy group of 5 guys that have been together for 30 years.
Right.
They just see us as like, I don't know, that guy's Farva. I don't know anything else beyond that. You know, that guy's Thorny, but
Yeah. It's like,
it's
okay, but I mean, is it Thorny playing this guy or is it no? It's not. It's Jay playing both of these characters. But I mean, I don't know. Because you were also like your sketch comedy was a different name too, right? You were
in college.
yeah, Charred Goosebeak or
In college we were called Charred Goosebeak. Yeah.
and then you migrated to Broken Lizard. I think yeah.
Charred Goosebeak still exists at Colgate University.
Nice.
No,
Look at that.
It's like an improv group now, but it used to be a sketch comedy group when we started, and it had like 11 people when we were there. But Jay started it sort of. We were doing theater,
Yeah.
and one of the directors of the student theater department, had to go away, and he said to some people, "Would you like to direct a one act?" And he asked Jay, and Jay's like, "Nah." But I don't know if I want to do a one act, but could I do like a sketch show? Because he's from Chicago and he had done Second City or IO, and and so the guy's like, yeah, sure, you know, as long he wanted to keep his theater company going, and so he allowed Jay to do this sketch show, and yes, and 30 years later, it's still going on at Colgate. It's kind of cool.
I think that's great. It's like your legacy now because you started this thing like, I want to just do this. And now it's developed into a whole situation. So like you could theoretically go back at any time and be like, I want to do a show with these guys. I just for old time's sake.
Yeah. So it's interesting now is Jay's son and Kevin's daughter are both going to Colgate this year. They'll be freshmen this fall. So I wonder if they will join Charred Goosebeak.
That would be pretty cool. Just
That'd be
keeping the
kinda cool.
legacy rolling, you know?
Yeah.
Just keep it going. I love that.
Mhm.
I don't know. So I always associate your movies like when it says Broken Lizards, title, it's like, okay, so these people they've written the movie and they're going to be in the movie. And so I don't really associate it like, oh, they're just Super Troopers or they're just, Beer Fest. It's like, okay, these guys have made a movie and let's see what it's about.
Yeah.
And that's as far as I go as far as that. It's like I know immediately who's going to be in the movie. As far as what characters, what happens, I don't know. I know it's going to be funny. I know there will be hijinks and usually somebody dies. So
There's a good amount of murder in this new one. Yes, yes.
oh yes, lovely, lovely, lovely. I know in the trailer somebody gets hit in the neck with an arrow. So
Somebody, yeah.
that,
I can tell you who it is, though.
it's like you'll have to go watch the trailer
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
watch the film on April 20th to find out.
That's right. Hulu. Only on Hulu.
Only on Hulu.
New world. Streaming. Never done streaming before.
Is it just going to live on Hulu? Like, is it not coming out on DVD or digital or anything of that nature? Or is that something that's in the possible talks in the future of it?
That's a good question. Does Ted Lasso does it have a DVD life? Do movies or shows that are on streaming, do they have a DVD life? I don't even.
Some do, some don't. It's
Okay.
very interesting. Like, I know that, like, at one point, like, some Netflix movies you could eventually get on digital or Prime movies you could get. But then they kind of stopped doing that because it's like, well, if it's ours and it's exclusive, it'll always be here. So you can just come back here and watch it and you don't have to worry about all the extra. But I like having my own copy.
It is nice.
Because, like, I mean, what if your like internet goes down or something and all you've got is your retro DVD player and that's it? What are you gonna do?
I don't know. It's sad. I mean, I know we both were from and lived in Minneapolis, right? I saw a news story. My sister sent me that the last DVD store closed, and it was sort of sad to see. It was such a cool store, and I mean, you feel like somebody would just fund it as like a museum.
Yeah, it should. There should be at least one in every city that's just
Yeah,
like it's a historical building. It's
yeah,
like so many years later, children, this is where people used to actually go to purchase DVDs. What's a DVD? Well, it's a disc. What's a disc? Oh fuck. All right, never mind.
yeah, exactly. I don't know.
It's like never mind, never mind.
I don't think my kids who are 6 have a clue what a disc is.
Oh really? I was
That's
like, no, it's on the Hulu. It's on it's on Netflix. Okay,
the other
that's
day. I showed them Sky High because we were
yeah,
hanging out with all the Broken Lizard guys and promoting, and the girls got to meet Kevin, and so
yeah,
I said, I got to show you Sky High. So we watched it, and he plays Ron Wilson, bus driver. And then
yeah,
saw him the next morning. I'm like, that's Ron Wilson, bus driver, and they were still like they didn't even understand that concept that person would be in that movie that they see on a screen and put 2 and 2 together.
yeah.
It's so funny, and the idea of a disc, yeah.
It's like, what is that? Is it hardware? I don't want any of that. Nope. But I mean, I think that's great because with streaming, at least your film can have many lives because you never know when somebody's going to discover it and
Yeah,
so you'll have like of course the first major wave of people who are watching it and talking about it and enjoying it and rewatching it because that's the kind of I rewatch movies. And
yeah,
then, it's there and suddenly like I've seen films just kind of have a resurgence constantly coming back just like, "Oh, what's this? I didn't know this was on here. It's hilarious, blah blah blah." And so I think that's a huge benefit of being able to stream is that if it always lives somewhere, there's always a new audience for it. So,
yeah. Like
I
you're
mean,
sitting on a plane, right? You're going across, you get a couple hours,
yeah.
and they kind of choose what their library is going to be, and every once in a while they'll throw in some older movie. I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. That still now has a resurgence, a new life because you're sitting on some Delta flight, and
Yeah,
you're stuck in a seat, and you're like, I'm going to watch that. I've watched a couple old timey movies, which is fun to see it come back to life. It's
exactly.
streaming digital, yeah, it's great. I
So,
think it's some great stuff. I mean, we were watching Only Murders in the Building on Hulu, which is phenomenal. They're getting a new
yeah.
season, and we laughed so hard. There's a ton of stories. I love Barry. I mean, I don't know if you consider HBO streaming. You do, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
already
I
been
mean,
around. And
I
it's a
feel like
cable channel
they
or
were kind of
streaming.
the first ones
Yeah,
to have that. So yeah.
great,
Um
great stuff out there.
my therapist told me I should watch Barry and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Uh,
I was like, "Okay, what are you trying to say
do you
exactly?"
have a secret career that we don't know about, Amber? That you're
It's
not allowed to talk about?
none of your business. I can't tell.
Okay,
Can't tell you about it. Okay. Yeah. It's like where do you live again? Yeah.
exactly. It's funny. I think it's hysterical. But
Yeah. It's good times. Fourth season is coming out very soon.
have you not watched Barry?
I haven't yet.
Oh my
I'm
god, I'm so
ready
jealous.
to binge. I'm ready to binge.
Oh, it is fantastic.
I can't wait.
It's so great. That's the thing is like you can find these shows that are gems and like, oh my god, I haven't seen that yet. Now you get
Exactly.
to have the most fun and enjoy your
As the
binging.
first timer going down the berry rabbit hole.
That's right. It's
I
great.
mean, Bill Hader, Henry Winkler, where
Oh,
can you go wrong? I mean, really,
terrific.
you know. So I'm very happy about that. I can't
There's
wait.
a guy that plays a Chechnyan that I laugh so hard at that guy. Really funny.
He's just there.
Mm,
Just
he's one of the main guys. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I know it. I just can't remember it at the top of my head, but he's so funny.
yeah. All right. So while I'm watching it, I will text you and be like, "Oh my god, this part. Oh, I see where the guy you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So expect those. I'm
Okay.
not sorry about it.
And I'll say I
And
told you
there's
so.
that.
Told you.
So with this latest film, like you guys were you said before that you were like kind of surprised that they were ready to make another film with you. Has it like is it always kind of that like peaks and valleys with filmmaking? Like you make this film, it's really like popular, people love it, and then it's back to the grind of getting the next film made and trying to convince a studio that, it's worth putting the money in to go and then do that again and then you have the film and then back again? Like, is it a constant roller coaster of that?
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. Like we're starting to do interviews now, and people are like, "Well, you made your last movie in 2018." I'm like, "Yeah, it's hard. It takes a long time to do a movie after that. I get it, But yeah,
It's like,
like
thanks
5 years since you had a movie. Like, yeah, it's hard. It takes work.
thanks for reminding me, ass.
So with the new one, we had Super Troopers was successful, and the studio said, "Great, let's make another movie." We don't make another movie, but then we started creating a deal for Super Troopers 3, but then you got to go write it, and to write it, to really try to make it to the level we're happy with takes a year or two, right? So
Right.
we've had all these scripts that we've written over the years, and we had this one, and we thought, well, maybe we can just take this one, which is kind of a fairly low budget film, and when we, the silly costumes and silly accents, and we thought, well, maybe we can go to a streaming service and try to make it during the time that we're writing Super Troopers 3.
Mm.
And so we said, well, we can show Searchlight Pictures that's going to be making Super Troopers, but they do these Oscar-winning films. We thought they're probably not going to be interested in this, but we're like, oh, we'll show them. And we sent it to Searchlight, that's an actual studio, and they were like, oh, yeah, we think this is really funny script. Let's do it. We were surprised, pleasantly surprised, and very happy. And
Yeah.
they've been great partners. So here we are. And then they are a division of Disney now. So then Disney also owns Hulu, and so it's a natural fit. So,
Nice.
and also when we were doing it, it was COVID, and just people weren't sure if the theaters were coming back.
Right.
So when we started the deal and we were agreeing to it, and Hulu has had some really great stuff and some great stuff in there. So we said, yeah, sounds cool. So that was sort of the natural progression.
Okay. Yeah. So COVID obviously is hit, the filmmaking world really hard when it first came, and pretty much stopped everything for that first year, and then slowly things trickled back.
Shit,
So,
man, never thought I'd see a global pandemic in our lifetime.
man,
Like, talk about medieval 8th century France.
I think it's perfect. It's perfect timing. But also I'm like, we have this pandemic, and then for some reason that's birthed all these podcasts of people talking about how they don't wash, and they don't wash their hands when they go to the bathroom. They don't like wash their legs, and I'm just like,
So this is not just me all of a sudden hearing this phenomenon of people just talking about not washing their hands after going to the bathroom.
yeah, I was
It's
like,
the new thing that everyone in the world's talking about.
yeah, I'm like, why though? Why? Like,
It's a weird conversation.
yeah, and then, like, there was these 2 women who were talking specifically about faking washing their
Yeah,
hands in
hey, to turn the
public
water on.
bathroom,
I heard
and
that.
I'm like, what? Why?
Well,
What
then I
is
thought it was just them having a conversation on a podcast, but you're saying other people.
No,
Now it's like
I
the hot
mean,
topic.
there's like, I've heard a conversation where someone was talking about they get in the shower, they wash their hair, they rinse the hair, and then they get out of the shower. And I'm like, okay, so what happened to like the rest of it? Like, that's I don't know. I'm like, I
Is it
don't
a
know.
protest of some sort? Like they're so pissed off
No,
that
this
other people
apparently
to wash
this
their
is
hands?
no, this has been like a thing forever apparently, but now people are like, I want to tell the world about it. I want
I don't
everyone
wash my hands.
and I'm just like, I I could have lived the rest of my life not knowing that. Not knowing that you are the reason that we have a pandemic. Like,
It seems like an
why?
unnecessary conversation.
It is. It is. It absolutely is. It's every time I go on social media, there's always something there that I'm like, we could have kept that in the drafts. We could have not shared that with people.
Yeah,
Like,
but now everyone's talking about it. So maybe
and now
they were
it
the
is.
smart ones.
I mean,
They went
well,
viral.
for me, it tells me who to stay away from.
A badge of
Like,
honor.
oh my gosh. Yeah. Disgusting hands. Like, and that's how you get pink eye. So like, do we want that?
I don't know. They say they don't. They say they're clean in their conversations, I've heard.
Yeah, no. 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 Yeah, there would be no convincing me of that. I just no. Like, no. No. No.
I would feel like I was so then I remember hearing this thing and I was at the airport the other day. So I'm now thinking, well, I'm going to go through this airport experience and see what it's like. Should I wash my hands? Should I not have to wash my hands? But I find myself touching things. But I guess like there's maybe that was at not all airports because most of those are animated, right? Automated.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to touch anything.
I mean, if you're going through the airport, like say you check in beforehand, you check in on your phone, you do all that, you bring your baggage up. So that's like the only thing you have to touch until you get to security. Security, you have to touch the bins to put your stuff in there.
Right.
And, so that's the first thing you are like required to touch. And then your shoes that have been walking around on this ground all day. And so you go through security, you grab your stuff, you're touching the bin again. If you have balance, you don't have to touch anything, but if you don't, you're sitting on a bench. You have to get up from the bench. You're touching the bench. And then you're going through, you're touching the seat. If you get something to eat, you're touching the counter, you're touching, other things, especially if they're like wrapped things, you're touching those. And other people have clearly come through the airport and probably looked at that, picked it up, and been like, no, I don't want that. Anything you buy to drink, and then, then you get on the plane and you're touching all of that.
So the arguments that I've heard is I'm clean and I touch my thing and then I don't feel the need to have to wash my hands afterwards. But really what your argument is that you're exposed to everything. You should just wash your hands in general. You're in the bathroom, so it seems like a convenient time to wash your hands because
I
you're
mean,
exposed to a lot of other things.
yeah, because like,
Your
so,
ding-a-ling might not be dirty, but everything else.
well, I mean, yes, for you guys, it's
Right.
different because you don't have to worry about stalls and stuff like
You have
that.
to yeah, women have to like touch anything?
Yeah, but you have to touch the stall
Handle?
and the handle and, I mean, I'm a hoverer, so I don't touch the toilet seat.
You got great quad control, yes.
Yeah, I don't, and I'm a hoverer. Public bathrooms, I like to hover. And then, if it's not a sensor, I use my foot to flush the toilet. I don't
So you're
touch
pretty
the
good.
handle.
Right.
So, if somebody else is in there and they touch the same handle with their hand, now they've touched everything that was on my foot that's on that handle,
It's the handle, really. The
you
handle's
know?
the trick.
And so it's
It's not
like,
your thing. It's not your
you never know.
private. It's your, it's the handle.
Yeah, it's everything else,
Yeah,
like,
it's everything else, yeah.
yeah, so, like, you're
You got the bottom of it.
you're touching all sorts of things. So it's not that the person themselves is dirty, it's that everything else is dirty.
It's that you are now at a place where you're in a convenient place to wash your hands.
Yeah, and
Why
it's
not?
right
Yeah,
there.
it's right there.
Like,
It's running. You
here's
barely
the
have to touch
stall,
anything.
there's the sink.
Stick your
Here's
hands up. I just wish they were a little more reliable. Every time I go there to push my hands under something, I'm walking around to several different faucets. Nothing's working. Soap's not coming out. Can't get the towels to come out. I'm like
That's
waving my
fair.
hands all over the freaking place.
I hate when there's no towels and nothing's working, so I'm out the bathroom doing this thing. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You walk out, your hands are wet. There's no towels.
it's like, "What
Uh,
is she?" I'm sorry, and just it's
efficiency has created inefficiency in a
indeed,
way. You have to
indeed,
touch knobs, but you're still
you
touching
know?
stuff.
Yeah, you're still
This
touching
is
stuff.
deep. You're going deep. You're going deep. Going deep.
I'm just saying, like, it's
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, "Well, what about me? I do this." I was like, "Yes, but other people do not."
But some
And
will say germs are good for you. You
germs
know?
are good for you in a way. I'm not saying you should live in a sterile bubble and, worry about that. I mean, I grew up at the time where people were still drinking water out of the water hose and,
Sure.
dropping food on the floor. And if you pick it up in 5 seconds, you can still eat it.
Yeah. Little fresh.
Whatever. I mean, there's plenty of dirt I've eaten in my
Yeah.
life.
I'm
That's
gonna
how
take the opposite stand, and I'm gonna start wearing a T-shirt that says "Lick the handle."
I mean, you say that, but I was at this when I was in New York, I was going to get this ice cream and it was you could only have two people in there at a time because New York places are tiny. And I turned around and I looked and this little kid is licking the outside window of the ice cream shop. And I'm just like,
It's gonna be the healthiest kid you ever met. He's gonna grow up to be a super athlete.
I mean, like genuinely,
Eat
like
now.
that kid is like, psh. I'm immune to literally everything.
That's right. That's right. Licking the
Like,
windows in New York City. Go
and
lick
I
every
mean,
window.
it
You'll
was
be good.
just, I mean, going to town. I was like, did somebody drop ice cream there? Or like,
Yeah.
what happened? And I'm just like, and the mom is standing right there and she's not seeing this. And I'm like, dude,
You can
your
wear
kid,
a shirt that says "I'm a window licker."
like,
That's some
yes.
great new T-shirt ideas coming out of this hammer.
But it was literal. It was actual. I was like, I've seen it. No, this is not a euphemism for anything. He
Right.
was licking that window. It's bad.
Look in the window. Look in the window.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine. But like, so outside of Broken Lizard, you've done other things. You've done television shows. You've branched out on solo missions, but you are also a motivational speaker as well.
I do a little bit of, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
how did you get into that? Like how did you go from Broken Lizard to motivational speaker?
Well, I would say my motivational speaking thing, and it's always a hard word to choose, like
Yeah.
inspirational, motivational speaker. I always feel like Tony Robbins or something like that, which I'm not really my thing. My dipping my toe into that world was I was in high school, Minneapolis, Breck High School, Minneapolis, and we used to have speakers. We'd have some days we had chapel. We had this chapel, and so some days there was all school chapel, some days there was upper school chapel, and often on upper all school chapel days we would have speakers. And one day we're all in there listening to a speaker, and she's giving a talk on overcoming cancer, and she's up there. She's wearing a fairly short skirt and dressed nice. She's a former model, and was talking overcoming cancer. And then she reveals during her talk that she lost her leg while she had cancer, and she now has a prosthetic leg. And I was in the audience as a kid who had a prosthetic leg growing up, and I still do. I'm just like, oh, I had no idea. It was so cool to me and sort of like interesting. And here I am in this sort of formative years trying to figure out my identity, which is always hard for many, 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 many people, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. Who am I? What's my thing? And I was very insecure. I always felt like I was a handicapped kid, and I never knew if I really had a future per se in the big picture things, if that makes sense. I mean, like to me, a person who has a prosthetic leg, to me, I was a little bit nervous that I was going to have to be pigeonholed or contained into certain things.
Yeah.
Like a lawyer, a doctor, a desk job, or something like that, right? Like I was a baseball player at the time, and I was a captain of my high school baseball team. But in my mind, I kind of knew I wasn't going to go on and be a professional baseball player because I just couldn't run as fast as everybody else, and I didn't have the the leg strength because I didn't have a leg. But I never really thought it was an
Because I didn't
option
have
to
one.
go
It's
on and be like a model or an actor or something like that. So when this woman came and spoke at our school, and here she was from New York, and she was a model, and she had a prosthetic leg, I'm like, oh my, wow, that's fucking great and
yeah.
cool. I don't know. It's like, you can do interesting, bigger things in life, even if you have a prosthetic leg. And to me, it was very mind changing. It kind of changed my mindset. And I thought that was really interesting. So I always had in the back of my mind that if I were to ever have success and be able to do something with my career, which was a struggle for many, many years, and I never was getting to a place of success for a long, long time, I thought, but if I ever did, I wouldn't mind going back and trying to show younger people or kids at universities or anyone that's kind of struggling with whatever their identity or mindset might be that, you can do cool things if you put your mind to it. And you can't always, sometimes I say, you can't always, sometimes you can't be 6'11" and be a horse jockey, right? But,
Fair.
I don't believe you can do anything you set your mind to, but oftentimes there are a lot of cool things we can do, and we should at least try.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I dig
the other
that.
day, the other day, my friend's daughter said, "When I grow up, I want to be a giraffe." I'm like, I love it. It's great. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but hey, we can try. So, I didn't know if I was ever gonna make it either, but it gave me the kind of courage to give it a go.
Just looking at that kid.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
Hopes and dreams.
But
All
I
right.
mean, she could become a zookeeper and then like work with giraffes. Or you know what? I'm not even gonna take that from that kid because there's a horse girl out there somewhere that's running around, and so you know what? Be a giraffe.
Be a giraffe. Be your own
Be a
giraffe,
giraffe.
right? You might find a different interpretation of what giraffe means to you.
You never know.
You never know. So I say just get out there, and I would say like jump the fence. It's one of my sayings. So I kind of go out and I tell my story of growing up with a wooden leg. My parents encouraged me to go out and try things. I fell down a lot. My analogy I use a lot is like when I used to go skiing. I want to go skiing, and my parents are like, okay, well, maybe we'll put you on outriggers, right? If you really want to try this, growing up, Minnesota, we had snow a lot of snow,
Yeah, you
long
know.
snow season. It's skating and was hard, not easy, but I like skating and I wanted to try things. And so my parents were like, okay, well, let's try it. You can try it. It's going to be hard. And they said, well, maybe we'll put you on outriggers. So outriggers are basically like crutches with little ski on the end.
Okay.
And like this in the Paralympics, you'll see somebody, if someone's missing a leg, they'll take off their whole leg and they'll ski on one leg, but they'll have outriggers,
Right.
which are kind of poles
And
with
they,
skis
yeah.
on the end. And they race and they compete, and it's really cool. And I tried it and I said, okay, I like it. It's fun, but I want to try it without.
Yeah.
And then my parents are like, wow, without outriggers? Like, you want to try to go down that hill on a wooden leg? I was like, yeah. And they're like, all right, you're going to fall a lot. And I was like, okay, I'm cool with that. And man, I wiped out and fell and spilled and ran into a tree. You know what I mean? Like, it took a whole day before I went from the top of the hill to the bottom of the hill. But to me, it was a really important lesson in what life is.
Yeah.
It's about trying things. It's about falling. It's about getting back up and making getting back up a habit. And so that's my story. As I travel around, I talk about having one leg, falling down the ski hill. And then when I attempted to break into acting and comedy in Hollywood, it was even a bigger hill. It was a bigger mountain. It was going to be harder than even trying to ski on a wooden leg. But those important lessons as a kid, I think were important when I got older to keep on trying.
Yeah.
And you might not become a giraffe, it might not work, but it's still, I think, important to try.
Although I believe in her.
I do too. I hope you achieve
I
her dreams.
I wholeheartedly believe.
Sure.
Are there moments where you're just like, maybe this avenue or how I'm going about it is maybe not the move, and maybe I have to kind of reroute or rethink my strategy for this, because there's literally no one right way to break out or break into the industry. But do
No.
you sometimes find yourself hitting kind of a brick wall, or did you at any point?
Yeah. I mean, 10 years of, a lot of people think that we came out with Super Troopers and it was like an overnight success. People are like, who are these guys? They came out of nowhere. But the reality is we were grinding it out, doing live shows in New York for 5 years. And then we made a short film, and then we made Puddle Cruiser, and then we made Super Troopers, right? So it's a grind. Yeah. So yeah, it was like 10 years of introspection. My father was like, what are you doing? When are you going to give this up and go get your master's degree? And everybody's saying, not answering calls because they're like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, it's a long time to grind it out. And there's a lot of self-doubt and a lot of questioning about, am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Like, it was hard. Like Kevin, who played Farva, he went and got a law degree during that time, like to have as a backup, because you don't know if it's going to work out or not. Persistence is important, but it's a tough career.
Could you imagine him as a lawyer?
Yes.
You answered that super fast. Like, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Without a
yes. He
doubt.
always carries a clipboard around. He's very organized. Very organized. If you're late for meetings, he taps his watch. He's like,
So absolutely, yes. Yes,
yes,
without a
without
doubt.
a doubt. His dad's a judge, and yeah, it's in the blood.
Okay, I see.
He reads over our contracts. He's a good person to have.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's very organized. He's the most organized of all of us.
He's like, okay, bring it in.
Yeah, let's go.
He's the glue.
Yeah.
Just like, get back here right now.
Yeah.
That's wild, because he plays the most
outlandish,
outlandish,
obnoxious, stinkiest. Yes.
Like, wow. Well,
he's a very bright fella.
I love it. That's awesome.
He's passed the bar in California and New York, I think, or maybe it's New York and Connecticut. I don't know, 2 states, but
But there are 2 states that.
2 states where Kevin Heffernan can practice law.
Nice, nice. But
Farva can practice
not.
law.
Oh Jesus, that would be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Are you a writer? Are you thinking about being a writer? Well, as a writer and someone who often thinks about writing, I always wonder, where can I find clothes that validate me, that make me feel like a writer? Well, look no further, because we have Amber's Itty Bitty Litty Etsy shop, where you can buy hoodies, you can buy sweatshirts, you can buy notebooks, bookmarks, all the things that you need to know that you matter. Your voice matters. So go ahead, copy some right now. Do it. No, I'm serious. Do it. Cop it. Get it. You heard? All right. Now back to this interview.
Oh my gosh. So where would you say, what is your role in the group?
I would say I sort of fit the niche of the wholesome Midwestern guy. Like in Super Troopers, for example, I played Rabbit, and I was the eyes into the world. So I was like the open-eyed, young, earnest rookie coming into this world. So it's like you see a high school movie, and it's like the freshman coming into high school, and the guy who has to learn it. So I kind of fit that role a little bit. But then, like, as actors and sketch comedians, like it's fun to play against type as well. So like, as you mentioned earlier, hopefully won't give too much away, but if anybody sees Club Dread, I get to play an opposite role. So what we try to do is every movie, if possible, to kind of play a 180 from your last role. So for example, Kevin Heffernan played Farva in Super Troopers, where he was kind of the oaf and obnoxious. And then in Club Dread, he plays Lars, who's like the fun-loving masseur, very centered, and he gets the girl. So we try to stretch a little bit as characters from our acting background, which throws people off. Again, that goes back to that whole thing of like, people wanted to see Farva again, but then they see Kevin as Lars, and they're like, "What's this? I don't, it can't compute." So I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it's an actor thing, because I'm like, that's awesome. That's
fun.
I love it when actors play against type, or they do something absolutely different from their last thing, and it's like, now I don't know, it's interesting to me, because it's like, now there's range there, like, I don't want to see the same thing all the time. Like
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I love those characters, absolutely. Like, I still watch Super Troopers, it's hilarious, but I want something different, and I'll go watch Club Dread, or I'll go watch Beer Fest, or so I find it fun. I find it way more interesting than like having 5 Super Trooper movies back to back to back.
Right.
But maybe that's
well, like Brian Cox the other day was being interviewed on Fallon, and he said after Succession, which apparently is going to end this season, which he said he wants to get into more comedy. And they're like, "Well, why?" He's like, "Well, I always get cast in these really heavy, serious roles. He was Hannibal Lecter, or in The Ring, he was, the creepy guy. And so he always gets these very heavy, dramatic roles. But he's like, I love comedy. Growing up, I just love doing comedy. But you never get offered those if you're seen as a very heavy, dramatic actor.
Right.
And so it's fun to play against type. But most people kind of expect you to be one way.
What did Liev Schreiber said in an interview once? He was like, I much prefer comedy. That's my thing. But, you fuck one goat.
Well put, Liv.
Like, no, I could see that. Have you? I know that Paul has directed outside of comedy. He did that horror movie.
Yep.
But have any of you all ever wanted to do something outside of comedy? Or have done outside of comedy?
That's a good question. I don't know. It just seems like our path, because you keep getting project, the next project, then you have to work on the next project. Right now we're writing Super Troopers 3, and there's some other things that we're hoping to write with our comedy. It's very time consuming to go on something else. I mean, if I auditioned for like an action movie recently, I got close to getting a part, which I thought was going to be kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Play like I was a kind of a military-esque guy, and I was kind of excited to try something more dramatic. Ultimately, the role went to one other person. But yeah, I mean, I don't, I went to acting school in New York, and studied drama
Mhm.
and acting in New York City for 3 years. So I would obviously love to try something different,
Yeah.
but like, you get seen sort of in this one part. And Sandler's had an interesting career. Like, he's obviously been able to do his comedy, and then he gets cast in some dramatic roles, and he's great. But most people don't want to take that chance.
Which sucks. I would totally put you in a uniform.
I did Super Troopers. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
No, 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 no.
Oh,
No,
a military uniform.
uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, no, no. Military uniform.
Really? That'd be great. I would love it.
Serious stuff.
I got cast once in a US, I think it was an Army, it was a recruiting commercial.
Yeah.
I was young, like, I think I was in college. I was like 19. And they found out that I had a prosthetic, and they said, you can't be in the commercial because you can't be in the military and have a prosthetic. I'm like, I know, but it's acting. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to even know I'm wearing pants.
I know. It's like, you're wearing pants. What are they going to, what?
I know.
That's stupid.
That's another interesting thing. And that's kind of, well, it's different. It's really, what I was going to say, maybe it's related to the motivational speaking, but it's not really. I thought that'd be kind of cool to be able to go back. If I could ever get to a point where we had a successful film, then I could go back and say to people, you can do cool things if you have a prosthetic leg. Or what I say is, everybody has a wooden leg. It might be physical, emotional, mental, but everybody has whatever their wooden leg is, where they think maybe I can't do this, but we can do cool things. We can be giraffes.
Yes. That's the takeaway, is that we can all be giraffes.
We can all be giraffes.
Be your
You
own
can
giraffe.
lick your handles and be giraffes.
Yep.
But
When
the
you're
other thing
licking
was
giraffe.
that I never wanted to tell people I had a prosthetic leg until I made many movies. Made several films, not just one. I wanted to have like 20 years of making movies, and then come out and say, in retrospect, oh, by the way, I did that with one leg. Because this whole thing we're talking about is people want to pigeonhole you into one thing.
Yeah.
And they want you to say, well, you can't be in this military commercial. You can't do that. You can't play a military thing because you have a fake leg. I'm like, I just made 20 years worth of movies. You had no clue.
Yeah.
So don't tell me I can't do something. You can. And we're kind of getting this interesting the era of diversity now, where people are starting to like give people more opportunities, and it's been interesting. But it wasn't like that when I first started.
I'm here for it. I am 100% here for it. I didn't know that you had a prosthetic leg until I saw P90X.
That's right. That's when I came out about it.
And I was like, wait a minute. Wait
Yeah.
a minute. Is that? I was like, well, first it was like, is that Erik? And then it was like, wait a minute. This whole time. Amazing.
Crazy. It's weird.
It's like, dude couldn't be cooler. And look at him. He's out here doing P90X, which I've only attempted like one time. And he's out here killing it. I'm like, all right. Fair enough.
Tony asked me. I wanted to do like 20 years of movies and then come out, and he fucked up my plan. He fucked up my plan. We became pals. I did the test group, and he became pals, and he said, hey, would you be in the video? And I was like, no. I don't want to do video. I got this whole plan where I'm doing 20 years of movies and coming out. He's like, come on, you should be in this. Like, there might be people who are struggling with weight or diabetes. Like, you could help people get off the couch and improve their lives. I'm like, God damn it. Why'd you make me have feelings? Damn it. And
fuck you and your feelings.
No, fuck you and your feelings. So I said, all right, fine, I'll do it. And I kind of begrudgingly did it. I mean, I'm happy I did it, but it was and then he was saying, well, maybe what you consider to be a negative is a positive, and maybe something that you're hiding or don't want to show people. This is a cool opportunity to help people with, health issues or diabetes or whatever it is, mental health, get up and just be more positive. So I agreed to it. And then that's kind of when my first exposure, where then people like you were able to see it and be like, hold on a second, that's the guy from Super Troopers, and he's in an exercise video exercising with one leg.
And then immediately felt like, fuck, I'm not doing anything. It's like,
people's spirits. Yes.
I have no excuse. And yes.
You're a Marine. What are you talking about?
Okay. Yes.
No.
Well, it's kind of weird because I did that so long ago. I was in from 2005 to 2010.
Were
And
you in Pendleton or did you go to Paris?
no,
That's
at
fine.
that time, all women had to go to Paris Island.
Paris Island. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Hell
Yeah,
Week.
I
What was
went
it?
in
Hell Night or Hell Week?
August.
Hell
Huh?
Week or is there Hell Night or Hell Week?
Well, I
Or night
mean,
you go live in the woods or something like
there's
that, or
a it's a couple of days now.
2 days? Okay.
It's called the Crucible,
The
and
Crucible. That's right. Okay.
you're spending 2 days outside in the elements, and which was fine because, again, I went in August, so we were out there,
Uh-huh.
uh, end of October,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and it was still quite nice outside, so it wasn't that bad. But, at the same time, starting boot camp in August was probably the second worst
Woo!
decision I've ever made in my life.
Woo!
Yeah, that was,
Hot.
that was terrible. So, my hair has gone through many iterations, and at that time, I was like, "Well, I'm gonna be in boot camp for, like, 3 months. I shouldn't, I'll cut it short, and then I'll put a relaxer in it, make it straight, it'll be fine." I promise you, I got off that plane and my hair just shrunk up immediately, and I was like, "Well, fuck me, alright." It's so hot and humid, it's disgusting, and so, like, basically for all of boot camp, I had my hair, like, lacquered down with just a bunch of gel and, like, trying to maintain it, and it was terrible, and then you've got sand fleas biting at your face and your ears constantly. You're standing in formation, you cannot move, so you're just, like, you've seen people with, like, a single tear coming down their face because they're just getting wrecked. I mean, sand and crevices, you never want sand, like, it was rough, and then you
Woo!
smell like nobody ever talks about this, but you smell like spoiled milk for your entire time in boot camp.
Really?
Like, they give you 2 sets of camis, and they wash one they only wash once a week, so you have your one pair that you wash that's clean, and then you wear the for the whole week, and everyone, and I mean everyone, smelled like spoiled milk that entire time. Like, I can't I can't smell milk without thinking about boot camp.
Ooh, really? And you don't get to bring perfume or,
No,
body
nothing,
spray,
none of that, and, like, I mean, you take
oxidizer?
showers every night, but the clothes, like, you've been sweating in them and running in them and
Oh, yeah,
going in the
yeah.
dirt and mud and doing all that, so they just reek. They just smell so bad, and then it's humid, so it's just sitting on your clothes and it's wet and heavy,
August, yeah,
and
wow.
it's disgusting. Like, so if anybody is deciding to go to boot camp, just
Yeah.
know that you're gonna stink. You're gonna
We should
stink.
put the 1-week challenge out there, just see if everyone listening can wear the same clothes
Oh,
for 1 week and see what it's like.
I mean, I feel
Walk
like
a
a
mile
lot
in
of
your shoes,
people
right?
already do. Like, it's
Well, if they're not washing their hands, I have to go to the bathroom, yeah.
yeah, I feel like they're probably wearing their clothes for a week. It's
COVID.
not.
It's a COVID
Yeah.
thing. Back to COVID.
But, I mean, you wear the clothes for a week and then you go outside in the hot, hot sun, you run 3 miles, you then go find like a sand pit or something equivalent, and then you roll around in that for a little bit. And then you
That's one of the exercises of the Marines. Go
yeah,
roll
so
around
just
that sand pit
go
over
roll
there.
around in the I mean, okay, so one of our punishments, like if we weren't doing something, is to go into the sandbox, and you are doing mountain climbers, push-ups, crunches, like back to back to back in fast succession.
Wow.
And so, yeah, literally go roll around in the sand. Do that, get back up. You're tired and you're gross. Don't drink any water, be dehydrated,
Wow.
and then do it all again the next day.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, like, if I go to the gym, I'll do a certain amount of reps and like I'm spent, right? Like I
Mhm.
can't do anymore, right? I give up. Like I can't move my muscles anymore after like a certain amount of push-ups. But
Yeah.
if you're in the Marines and like you gotta go to the sandbox or something, are you allowed to say, I'm tapped out, sir? I can't move anymore?
Well, I know other branches have other methods, but when I was in, no, that's not a word that you can use.
You can't say uncle?
There's no
Like
such thing. That, like, no, no, hell
what
no.
like you do a certain amount of push-ups and like my arms don't work anymore.
Okay, I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah, hit me.
I got in during the crucible, I injured my arm, And I had a huge softball size hematoma on my elbow.
Wow.
Ginormous. So we get back to the base, and we're in our barracks, and I may have brought this on myself, but I sometimes would do a version of our kill hat. So we have our senior drill instructor, which is the lead. We have our heavy, which is the one that usually takes us around and tortures us. And then we have our kill hat, who's brand new and looking to make a name for themselves. So they're just like wild and vicious. So I may have possibly done a couple of, little sketches about her, and just made, like, I would walk around and do the voice and whatever. So the heavy found out about it, and then she told our series gunnery sergeant, and then of course it got back to her, and so she didn't say anything for a couple weeks. We get back, I'm injured, I'm like, oh, I'm tired, we got through this crucible, we're almost done. And she's like, Patton, don't think I forgot about you. And I was like, what did I do? She's like, I heard you like to make fun of people. I heard you like to walk around and do this and that. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, great. So she's like, get up on the what the fuck was get up in the front. And so she made me do one-handed push-ups until like, I don't know how long, but it was, and there was no, I'm tired, I can't do another one, I'm exhausted. It was just, I don't know. You find a new part of yourself, a new muscle that wasn't there, because there's no way I could, I definitely couldn't do it now, but just there are things that I did and managed to accomplish in boot camp that I could not do anywhere else. And like, it was terrible. Like, I'm like sweating, drenched in sweat. I've got tears coming down because I'm like, I'm not going to let her win. But it's like, it's a one-handed push-up. It's fucking hard.
It's amazing. It's really hard.
Yeah. But
like you said, you couldn't do it now. It's incredible.
I did it. And yeah. And
that's great. I love it. It's so cool to hear.
She fucking hated me.
Another question. Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
So this reminds me of like an Officer and Gentleman. I don't know if you ever saw an Officer and Gentleman, but
of
like
course.
Lou Gossett Jr. and Richard Gere don't see eye to eye like
Ever.
you and like this, right? Sounds like that. Would there ever be a moment when you'd be like, all right, let's go in the boxing ring and settle this?
No, because they don't do that anymore. They didn't do that when I was in. I will say that. So would I have that chance? No. Earlier,
could you have taken her?
Oh God, no. She would have murdered me.
She would have.
At that time. Well, okay.
You do one-hand push-ups.
I feel like she could have done no hand push-ups. Like she was a beast. Like, I mean, I give major credit to all of my drill instructors. Like, they were just amazing, immaculate. They're statuesque goddesses who could just do anything, literally. And like, the moment where he says, I got no place else to go.
He's crying.
Yeah. There was a moment like when I injured myself, like we had our sleeves down at the time because we were in training, and if you're in combat, your sleeves are down. So I hurt myself, and I know it hurts, but I'm not looking at it. I don't want to look at it. I'm just like, I'll just deal with the pain. It's fine. And my senior calls me over and she said, let me see it. And I'm like, all right. So this is the first time I'm seeing it. And I lift my sleeve up, I roll it up, and I'm like, oh my fucking goodness, like, I'm gonna, oh my God. And she's like, no. What we're not gonna do is freak out right now, because we're not doing that. Calm down. We don't know anything yet. Chill out. And I'm just like, oh my God, my arm, my God. She's like, stop it. So she had to walk me through that process, because I was freaking the fuck out, because I was like, the last thing I want to do is have to be sent back 2 weeks to have to redo this.
Do that again, the crucible again. Yeah.
I will lose my mind. I was like, no, when they say like the fastest way to get out of here is to just go through it, that is the fastest way. If you get sent back for medical or anything like that, it's a mental stress that I was not equipped to handle. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't do it.
So what happened? Was your arm broken?
No, they were worried that there was a hairline fracture in the elbow, and luckily there wasn't. And so I was like, she asked me, was like, "Do you think you can go on?" And I was, of course, I'm gonna say yes. Like, who's gonna say no?
Right.
So I did. I did all the rest of the exercises pretty much one-handed and got through. And because
Yeah.
I refused to go back. I was like, I'm not going back. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. If I go back, I'm done. So let's keep going
Let's
because
do this.
there's no other way for me right now.
I love it, man. I got one leg, you got one arm. Just
You know,
crush it.
it was
Cool.
just, we were giraffes.
That's right. We're on giraffes.
It's good stuff. So, besides having the prosthetic leg, and because this was you were born with without the lower part,
I was
correct?
born out of fibula, which is one of the two lower bones below the knee.
Got it. And so they were just like,
It,
let's
it's
remove
the
all the rest
growing
of
bone. Yeah, it wasn't going to grow properly.
that. Gotcha. So what is another fun fact that you don't think a lot
Hmm.
of Broken Lizard fans know about you?
Fun fact, I once tried to drink a gallon of chocolate milk as a kid because I thought I could fly. I thought if I drank a gallon of chocolate milk, I could fly. Most people don't know that.
How does that work? How did that how did
I
those
don't
2
know.
things go together?
That's
I was
You
like
have to understand science and Broken Lizard. I don't, yeah.
it's like, okay, because I feel like the milk would weigh you down. It wouldn't
Yeah,
like
I didn't doesn't make much sense.
okay,
Stupid kid. Stupid kid.
like fair.
Yeah.
So I would consider inspirational speaking still like a creative aspect of your life. So what is something non-creative that you would get into?
Huh. Non-creative, like banking or something, like accounting, actuaries. I
Like,
like facts. No, non-creative.
no.
I like traveling and I like cooking, but those are pretty creative.
Cooking is very creative.
Yeah, it's fun and creative and
You have to
delicious.
be yeah, and right? Like,
Right?
you get to eat the fruits of your labor,
Yeah,
and
it's time
I mean
consuming sometimes, but
true, but it's worth it.
yeah,
It's worth it if it works
it's
out.
fun. It's fun to entertain. I find the process of like sitting around socializing and eating and drinking with groups of people, that's the fun part of it.
It's a good time, it's a good time.
That's good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
How about you? Do you do something that's not creative that tickles your fancy?
I, um, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's, like, a bit of creativity in, like, everything, but
Insurance. You love insurance.
insurance, I love insurance. I
You love
hate
getting
insurance.
insurance policy.
I'm so frustrated with insurance right now,
Oh, it's the worst.
specifically car insurance. It is
Hmm.
it's actually you know what? Let me stop because they came through. They did what they're supposed to do.
Oh, good.
But, oh my god.
Did you call Flo? Did you call Flo?
Man, no. Flo won't answer my calls, so I went to Liberty
What?
Mutual.
Flo.
Um,
If
but,
Flo's watching this, she'll probably call you now.
yeah, right? She's like, "What? You got questions?
I
You need
heard
to
I
bundle
didn't call you back. Yeah.
something?" So what's a hobby of yours then that you won't monetize?
Huh. Cooking, does that count? I love
Yeah.
is that a hobby? Traveling? I love reading. I just read try to read always read a book. I always have a book going, love music. I can't monetize those. I wish I could. I was an English major and I still am trying to figure out how to monetize reading English books.
Mm. I mean,
Uh,
you could edit
yeah,
other people's reading.
I can monetize that.
You could totally monetize that.
My mom was an English professor.
Nice.
She monetized it somehow. Yeah. So I don't know if I came with an answer there. Cooking, traveling, listening to music, play the guitar. Those would all be hobbies.
Yeah, I'm learning how to play the drums now.
Oh, fun. Get some
Um,
aggression out.
I'll
Get the
never
aggression
actually try
going.
to monetize that.
That's fun.
Although, if I could play a rock star in a movie,
Amazing.
that's what I'd do. That's what I'd
What
do.
would be your like if you could go back and in your dream world be anything? Would it be in a rock and roll band
Yeah.
or be a musician?
Well, okay. So it would this is how I know I probably have an ADHD brain, but I would go into the Olympics for track and field. I would do the long jump and I would do I would probably do the 100-meter, and I would also be a rock star,
At the same
and
time. Yes.
at the same time, of course.
Yeah.
And I would be a proficient tap dancer.
Would you run the 100 in tap shoes with drumsticks in your hand?
I don't know if that would work out very well for me. I just feel like I'd be slipping all over the place.
Might be hard, but
Yeah,
it's
I
a
don't know if
great.
I'd get enough traction with those.
You might be that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, there was a lot there. There was a lot of promise in young Amber that, it could have gone a multitude of ways. It really
Let
could have.
me let me ask you this. I remember being in elementary school, and there was always like this kid, Jason Shearer, who was like faster than everybody else. Like, and you just knew, like, God, he was a great runner. It was fun to watch because he was fast. Was that you?
That was totally me.
Are you Jason Shearer in
That
6th grade?
That was totally me. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Here's
I
the fast kid on the
killed
play.
it.
Everybody
I
loved to
just
watch.
Yeah, I before I got into the Marine Corps, I
Yeah.
actually liked running. Go figure. I enjoyed it. It was great. Like, any kind of sprinting, any kind of, like, when you had to do the 1 mile for the presidential, like, fitness test,
Yeah,
like,
right.
I was the kid that was like, "Yeah, let's go, let's run." And they're like, what the fuck's wrong with her? Like, why is she It's like, "No, I'm gonna
Pace
run.
yourself, pace yourself.
Yeah, I'm not pacing
Yeah.
shit. I'm running."
Did you run the whole mile?
I did.
Of course you did.
Of
You do
course,
one
yeah,
arm push-ups.
I totally did. I was like, "Let's go. Let's fucking go." Yeah, I was incredibly competitive as a kid. I just if I was gonna go do something, I had to be the best in that moment. And then when I became the best in that moment, I would stop doing it. Because it's like, retire on top.
Where do you
Don't,
go from here? Yeah, walk away,
yeah.
mic drop.
Yep, that was my entire childhood. It's like, "Oh, I'm the best now.
Yeah, I
Gotta go."
sprinted a mile. See you
Yeah.
later. I
It's
won
like
in 6th grade.
it's like, you've got the rest of class, you've got school, that nope, I'm done. I'm
Done.
done.
I'm outta there.
Thank you.
Did you see
Thank
that?
you.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Yeah. So that was me. A mile a minute. Just, yeah,
Mile a minute.
you know.
That's a great, yeah, and we got another T-shirt, mile a minute.
Yeah, there you go.
You could be a speaker. I don't know if you call it inspirational or motivational or just a speaker, keynote speaker. You could be a keynote
A
speaker.
speaker of sorts.
Mile a minute.
If
Go.
if
Go
I
get up.
can
Do your best
motivate
for 'em.
people,
You
you know,
can. You got good
then
stories.
that's cool. Uh,
I'm
my
doing the
life is like
crucible, and I got a hematoma the size of a grapefruit. And I'm telling you, I'm not going back.
I
I'm
don't
not
do
ringing
it.
the bell. I'm
I
not
won't
doing it. So I did one arm push-ups. You
because I got in
too,
trouble.
because I got in trouble. But don't listen to that part of it. Yeah, maybe there's something to be learned from it. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
that's
don't
right.
make fun of your kill hat because she
Yeah,
will come
yeah.
back at you and she will get you.
There's
But, like, it's the kill hat, and, like, their whole entire mission is to make you miserable. So,
Gonna break you down to build you up.
yeah, they built something, that's for sure. I don't know what it is yet. It's just
Still figuring it out.
yeah, still trying to work that out. Um, Question as we go back into film, I am of the belief that Marvel is kind of losing its novelty in that it's like the biggest thing coming out in the box office now. So what do you think the next big wave
Mm.
of film or television is? I personally think it's limited series, but that's just me.
Limited series like like HBO has an 8-episode run. I
Yeah.
love those. Yeah. Do you think that would pertain as well to the Marvel film, or like what type of
Well, kind
material?
of because they have like Disney Plus has all the
Mandalorian
series
or
that
something? Yeah.
now like coincide with the Marvel movies like WandaVision
Right.
um, feeds directly from the last Avengers movie. And so the most of their series are interwoven or interconnected with their films. And, you know, for a lot of them, they're making like second and third seasons. I think they would be really cool if they were just limited seasons and they kind of fit in between the movies as they went on, but
like
they're
that.
kind of going into their own thing now. But I don't know. I think at this point, like with the last movie, it didn't do as well as they had hoped or whatever. It was still massively successful, but it's not a guarantee that a Marvel movie is going to hit 1 billion or, So they're kind of they're on the I would say they're on that down slope.
It's hard to tell. I don't know. They're so wildly popular. Every time they come out, I mean, people really still go and see them.
I mean, I went and saw Black Panther, but I feel like I had to.
Well, that won all sorts of awards, right? I mean, it won
I mean, it was
nominated for Best Actresses and
kinda great. So, like, I also like Ryan Coogler.
yeah,
So, I follow his career as a filmmaker.
yeah,
So, it was twofold in that. It's like, of course, I wanna see Black Panther, but also I really love Ryan Coogler as a filmmaker. So, Imma watch it.
yeah.
But I
He's
didn't go see Ant-Man.
and Ant Wasp. Was it the Ant and the Wasp?
Ant
Ant
and
and
the
the Wasp.
Wasp: Quantumanium.
And that probably did very well, though, right? Because I feel like
It
Ant-Man
did
was. I really
pretty.
enjoyed the first ones.
No, I mean, it's fun, but like, I think it had its initial, like, 100 million that
It's
first
crazy,
weekend, and then it, like, fell off faster than any other Marvel movie.
but if they're
Um,
making 100 million, and I mean,
I
they're
mean,
going
yes,
forever.
like,
They're going forever.
yeah, like, if you think about, you know, the average movie making 100 million is fucking
Amazing.
great. It's
Yeah,
amazing. But for
huge.
them to be at a whole entire another caliber of in the billions and then
Yeah.
coming down to 100 million, it's like for their own thing. Because I can't compare those movies to regular movies. It's
Yeah.
impossible to do that because of they're just on their own level, their own scale of what success means.
The only thing I can say about that is I miss a little bit of, like, Stripes, Caddyshack, like, a little bit sort of the lower budget comedies. I feel they put so much time and energy into so many of the Marvel films, and I think they're great, but, I don't know, I kinda miss lower budget comedies, Blazing Saddles or, just some great. I like to see more lower budget comedies. But
Fair.
they just put so much, time and effort in these tentpole films, Batmans and Spider-Mans and everything, which, they're very popular. As long as they're making that much money, they're gonna go on forever.
Yeah.
But
Eh.
it is what
You
it is.
know,
It is what it is.
I
What are you
guess.
gonna do? What are you gonna do? They make great stuff on streaming. Go watch streaming now. You
Yeah,
go to
no,
Hulu and see
go
some great
go to
comedies.
go
That's
to
right.
streaming, go to
There you go.
Hulu,
Yeah.
specifically go on 420, you know?
Hey, what a date, 420. What's
It's a
coming on 420?
celebration, you know? Let's all gather on 420
Quasi.
for quasi.
Quasi.
Quasi. Go watch Quasi, or Quasi, as I like to call
Whichever you
it.
want. You can call it.
Quasi, whatever you call it,
Tomato,
go watch
tomato.
it.
That's right.
Go
Check
watch
it out.
it.
Only on Hulu, 420,
Only
the Broken Lizard Comedy Group, playing multiple different parts.
Yes.
The romantic, very romantic, um, and political thriller. There's a lot going on. Just give us a little break on our accents, and then you'll be fine.
I mean, going into a comedy, I don't worry so much about accents
Yeah,
in the comedy. So
yeah.
I actually appreciate it more if it's a bad accent. Like, yeah, I love that way more than like actually trying. Did you ever see Death to Stalin?
No, but I'd like to. What is it?
Oh, it's
I heard
um
it's good.
it's hilarious and everybody uses their own accent. There's no one trying to like make this accent happen or anything. But I mean, hilarious satire, a lot of just ridiculousness in it, but it's hilarious, very funny. And no one uses an accent except their own that they were like born with. And it's perfect.
Do you ever watch Catherine the Great or Catherine the Great? I think it's just called The Great.
No, what's that?
Oh man, very funny show. But it's Russian, but they all have British accents.
So it's like
Terrific,
any kind of
terrific
like,
show.
yeah. It's like
You
300
just,
when
you
everybody had.
you just suspension of disbelief.
You know what? It's fine. And I think, not to disparage us in any way, as Americans, we can't really tell the difference anyway. It's fine.
We wouldn't know an accent if it bit us in the butt, right?
So,
I love. Do you watch Succession?
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Because I
Barry in
write.
Succession, Amber.
Yeah, I know, I'm bad.
I'll
Well,
watch
I
Yellow
get the
Jackets if you watch
highlights.
Succession.
Okay, you'll watch Yellow Jackets if I watch Succession.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of not fair though. There's more seasons of Succession than there are of Yellow Jacket.
But that's positive. That means you get to have that much enjoyment.
So I have to watch Barry and
Oh
Succession.
my gosh, you have so much joy ahead of you.
I know
Two
that's
terrific shows.
so much time.
There's a character named Tom in Succession who's British, but he's great. I mean, he does a flawless New York. He's American accent.
Is that Michael McFadden?
Tom,
That's his
is it
name?
Tom
Tom?
McFadden?
I
Tom
don't know what his name is.
McFadden?
I know it's
Oh,
McFadden.
Tom's the character, right? McFadden, yes. Matthew McFadden, I think.
Matthew McFadden, yes.
Oh my gosh, he's terrific in that show. He was on a talk show the other night, and he has like stiff British accent.
Yeah.
But how they do the American accent so well blows my mind. Like all these Brits
Well-
and Australians do this American accent. It's incredible.
Well, partly because our accent is derived from them in a lot of ways. So, especially if you go down south, a lot of that southern twang is actually a progression from the British. And like in Louisiana, all the Creole speak and things like that, that's from the French. So it's not that far off.
All right. So they have an advantage.
Yeah, bastards. Sons of bitches.
Fair enough.
Always,
Yeah.
It's like they get to go act and it's seen as a serious thing in school and they spend years and years of learning and the theater, and then they come over here with their American accents and take all our roles. Damn it.
I know. Talented bastards.
I always wanted to do the opposite. I always wanted to go to the UK and then work as an actor somehow.
With a British accent or American?
Yeah. American, British, whatever. I don't care. But I wanted to be like Terry Gilliam, just after high school, like just leave.
Just go join the most successful comedy group in the history of the world.
I mean,
yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Be a giraffe.
I'm just saying.
I know. It's a good dream. It's a great aspiration, I would say.
Like that's always the tiny little goal in the back of my mind. Just
that's a proud Minnesota fact, yeah.
But so obviously we've got quasi coming up 420, right. Which I'm very excited about watching.
Thank you.
I enjoy watching you guys' films. It just looks like you're always having fun, and that's huge for me because, like, if especially with comedy, obviously you want the actors to be having fun. Otherwise, like, what's the point? But do you think it's easier to do that with four other individuals than, say, like, Adam Sandler usually, like, he has his thing and then he goes and casts people to collaborate with him, but you guys are collaborating from the ground up.
What's interesting you said about Adam, because he brought us in after we made Super Troopers, and he said, "Hey, I saw in the theater. I wanted to talk to you guys," because he said, "You kind of do what I do." And he's like, "I have a bunch of friends that I grew up with that I always have in my movies." And so he kind of has his friends who play characters in his films that are they play all sorts of different characters. And so he's like, "I thought that was really cool." And I thought if we could ever find a way, if I could ever help you. So when we're making Beer Fest, he said, "If I can help you get this off the ground, I'd love to do anything I can." He's a really nice guy.
Oh, that's cool.
Super supportive. Yeah, it was really cool. So he kind of does the same thing that we do. But yeah, like I've acted in other things and to have to go into like just a set where I don't know anybody and have to work with people that I haven't worked with before, it's not as fun. I mean, it's fun, but you don't have the same camaraderie as working with the same people that you've been working with for 30 years and you know everything about them. But, you know, we want to create an environment where people can come into a theater or watch one of our movies and they're saying, I'm watching a group of guys who's having a really good time with each other.
Yeah.
And like just seeing a bunch of friends having a good time and laughing and just hoping that makes them laugh.
I mean, I mean, I'm one person, but yes, I it definitely comes across that way, and it works very well. I think that the chemistry between the five of you, just the way that you feed off of each other, it just, I don't know, it works. It works.
That's cool. Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been together a long time.
Yeah. And you're going into the 8th film, so
Yeah.
you know how do you guys keep it spicy? How do you keep it so you know you can keep coming back to each other? And
yeah,
not
I don't
getting
know. I
bored.
guess we all, when we go out and have dinner or grab beers, we just enjoy hanging out with each other and laughing a lot, and I think that keeps us coming back for more.
Nice.
We
So is
still
there ever a
enjoy
time
coming.
where you just want to like choke someone? Like,
It's like family, right? Like you love coming together and hanging out with family, but it also sometimes like I got to get out of here for a little bit, you know. My
I'm gonna
uncle's
walk away. 'Cause if
no,
I walk
it's
towards
like
you,
that dynamic of family, you know. It's like that. I think everyone can kind of relate to
yeah, I want to punch my brother all the time.
that.
Love him to death.
Yeah, exactly.
Want
You
to
love
punch
to
him.
death. Yeah,
Yeah, 19, wild, thinks he knows everything.
that's funny.
It's a good time. Still want to punch him. So before we wrap this up, and I'm sad to say I do have to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But is there any charity or organization that you would like to highlight? Because that's what we do in catching up with you. We like to highlight charities because, as we have discussed in length, there's always something that is new to someone else. So,
Yeah.
you know, if we can help out, that's what we do.
Well, I have a charity that I love, and it may tie into some of your story, but it's called Vet Paw,
Mhm.
and it is there in Africa. There are endangered rhinoceros, or endangered of being poached for
Mm,
their horns, their things, their
yeah.
horns, right? And it's really sad. I mean, you'll see poachers, like, they just go cut off
Mm,
the horns of these animals, and then they're just lying there to suffer. So it's very, very sad. But there's this false inflated market for what is really nothing. I mean, it's the same material that you would have in fingertips on a
yeah.
rhinoceros, but these are animals that are endangered of being extinct. So there's a group called VetPaw, it's vetpaw.com, who are veterans that go out and they use their skills to help just protect these animals and hope that they will never be killed for stupid reasons, for
Yeah.
useless reasons, for monetary reasons, and allow these beautiful creatures to not go extinct. So I think it's a really cool cause. And I went over to South Africa and I visited them and their amazing organization. And I don't know, I love supporting them whenever I can.
Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
Now
they're great.
that right there is a non-creative job I would do. That
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Easily. Absolutely.
So
Like,
they could really use support. They definitely are always trying to raise money because, it would be great. It would be sad to have these beautiful creatures become extinct for, stupid, evil monetary reasons.
yeah. And they're like big puppies. They're so sweet.
I
If they
know.
can see you. Like,
Yeah, they don't see
apparently
very well.
yeah, they have terrible eyesight, so that's what makes them dangerous because 'cause they're just like, "I don't know what that is. I'm gonna kill it."
That's out there. What's going on out there?
But when
Well,
they
it's
know
kind of
what
cool
it
though.
is, they
When we were in South Africa, we would be on a veranda at night and it would get dark and they would walk up to graze on the grass, but they couldn't see us because their eyesight's so bad. So we'd actually get incredibly close to them.
yeah.
You could hear them breathing. And then we'd have to be incredibly silent so that we wouldn't get them upset. But you could get very close to them because they couldn't really see you were there.
That's wild.
It was amazing.
That's amazing. Unlike a hippo who will kill you no matter what.
Quite angry, those hippos.
Yeah. Yeah. They're vicious.
When I saw them, they were only in the water. They were only up, like, they'd only put it was so hot that they'd only have their eyes out here and they just look at
Yeah.
you.
How was
I'm
that?
not getting out of the pool. These stupid eco tourists.
I refuse. I mean, I agree with them. I'd rather they stay in the water, calm,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
chasing, you know,
absolutely. That's
not
right.
maiming, not trampling. It's good. It's good.
We had herds of elephants go right by the car, which is kind of cool. They were pretty gentle, which is
That's
amazing. They were wild.
amazing.
And they would kind of come out of these trees, and there would just be a bunch of them. They're huge, and you just kind of hang out, and they'd walk by you and
Don't make any sudden movements like,
yeah,
"Hey."
watched.
They're real I think elephants are one of my favorites because
They're beautiful.
they're amazing.
I know.
Fantastic memories. They apparently they they also have a vengeance streak
Ooh, I like it.
occasionally.
Get a
Yeah.
hunter that gets one of them. Like, I'll get you 20 years from now when I see you
No,
sleeping.
seriously though, there was I don't
Charles
know what
Bronson.
this woman did. I don't know what happened, but there's a news story out there where a woman was trampled to death by an elephant. And then the elephant found where they were burying her and destroyed the funeral. Like like
Like,
the same elephant.
revenge killer like Charles Bronson, and then didn't even allow her to have a funeral?
Yeah.
That's badass.
Like straight up was like, "No, you don't even get peace in death. I'm taking out your
Took
entire."
my daughter to a zoo, and I'm gonna stomp you to death, and I'm taking out your funeral?
Basically. It's like, yeah,
Respect.
you know. So
Respect.
I have the utmost love and respect for elephants because they are not to be trifled with.
That's right.
Don't come for
Elephants.com.
elephants.
There you go. Elephants.org.
Well, thank you so much for being on my show. Thank you for being my first guest, and I am truly looking forward to checking out Quasi. And it is on Hulu exclusively on 420. If you miss out, there's just no hope for you. But also, it's still on Hulu, so go watch it.
An elephant will avenge you.
Or an elephant. I will personally pay an elephant to
To
come
stomp you.
to come and stomp you if you
That's
don't
right.
go watch it.
Right.
And I'm not kidding.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah.
Amber, thank you for having me on. It was fun to talk. Great seeing you
Yeah.
again.
Always a pleasure.
Always
I miss
pleasure.
you guys.
I know. Next
Every
show.
time I
Next-
drive past PS Steak, which
It's
is delicious, by
It
the
is.
way. Yeah,
Delicious.
it's really it's so good.
Mm.
Went there for my birthday.
Right?
So
They
good.
know how to make a steak.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
If you're in Minneapolis, go check out PS Steak.
Go check out PS Steak. It's worth your time. It's worth the money. It's great drinks, great food, great atmosphere.
Yeah.
And they were so nice. They gave me a card for my birthday.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It was
They're
like
really cool there. Everyone there is great.
delicious dessert and
I
everything.
miss
So
them. I know. Good.
yeah. Do it.
Yeah, they have some
Do
great
it.
desserts. Do they still have a baked Alaska? They light that thing on fire at your table.
I don't know. I'll have to go back
Yeah,
and be like, I was told I need to get this.
if they have
So
it.
I will.
Call ahead if they have it and see if they have it. It's worth it. It's worth
For
it
sure.
for the trip alone for the baked Alaska.
Okay. Okay.
Amber, thank you again. Well, I'm sure we will be in touch or talk shortly.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Have a good one. Great talking to you.
I will.
Thank you for hanging out with me on another episode of Catching Up With You. All the links and any information pertaining to what we spoke about today will be in the description box below. So make sure you go down there and clickety click, 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 click. If you want to support, if you want to go follow them, if you want to follow me, and check out our sponsor, our first one. So, before you head out of here, just remember to go to Pound Town on those buttons, like and subscribe, and before you head out, make sure you go to Pound Town on those notification buttons, like and subscribe, and of course, if you want to be the first to know when new episodes drop and more information, make sure to go ahead and tickle that Jesus. Make sure you tingle that notification bell. Until then, I'll catch up with you later. Yes, I love you.